Hello, and welcome to this year's PMI Mile High Chapter Project Management Symposium. My name is Gary Vansuch. I'm from the Colorado Department of Transportation, which we'll be referring to today as CDOT. Our session's entitled 8 Years Later, an Update, Change Management Energizing the People Side of Project Management and Government. And why is it called 8 Years Later? We were at the symposium in 2013. Thank you again to the Mile High Chapter for that opportunity. On the picture you see one of the icons of Colorado, Pikes Peak. In 1893, Catherine Lee Bates, on a trip to the top of Pikes Peak, was inspired to write America the Beautiful, that wonderful song. We take our inspiration at CDOT to actually improve how we are providing products and services to our fellow citizens in Colorado and everyone who benefits from the Colorado transportation system. And we take our inspiration from a lot of other places too. We certainly agree with Admiral Dr. Grace Hopper, who said the most dangerous phrase in the language is, "We have always done it this way." We believe we are obliged and pleased to improve our products and services at Colorado. And we also know that from Dr. Joe Duran, all improvement happens in a project-by-project way and in no other way. So as part of that, we're going to talk about how we're improving CDOT through projects and integrating the practices and principles of change management, the people side of innovation and improvement, in how we're trying to do things at CDOT. I'm Gary Vansuch. I'm Director of Process Improvement at CDOT. I'm joined today by Michelle Malloy, our Senior Program Manager for Project and Change Management, and two of our wonderful interns, Victoria Farberov and Mariah Wagner. During our first session and other sessions we had at the symposium, we've been joined by this sculpture. And for those of you at the Colorado Convention Center today, you're seeing that sculpture. It's officially called I See What You Mean. Those of us in Colorado like to call that Blue Bear. And Blue Bear is going to be our guide today. Here are the topics we're going to cover today. We're going to tell you a little bit more about CDOT. We're going to have a quick retrospective from those sessions we've had at a symposium in the past in 2013 and 14 and 16. Then a quick review of the history of CDOT's change management program, including, by the way, some things that didn't work very well. We believe in lessons learned, both on the positive as well as on the side of things that didn't work, and we're working to integrate that into our current state, which would be our fourth and final topic, how we're working to increase the integration of change management with project management at CDOT in an effort we call Concept to Project. Our very first session today will be a little bit more about CDOT. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues and our wonderful interns from CDOT, Victoria Farberov and Mariah Wagner.
Thank you, Gary, for that wonderful introduction. And now Victoria and I are going to tell you a little bit more about CDOT and what we do. And this is actually a photo of Victoria and I on my second day of my internship at the entrance of our headquarters in Denver. So CDOT serves to plan, build, operate, and maintain the Colorado transportation system. And of course, we feel very lucky to work and live in such a beautiful state with a great landscape. CDOT is made up of 3,000 Coloradans at over 200 different staff locations across all 104,000 square miles of this lovely state. And what we see here is something we call our dot map, where each yellow dot has a number on it that tells us how many CDOT staff are in each location. So as you can see, we are all over the state, which is really great. On this side, we can see CDOT's vision and mission. And a few fun facts that help contribute to us fulfilling our mission and vision is that we have 35 major mountain passes that help keep our citizens connected. We maintain 278 avalanche paths and have 33 billion vehicles miles traveled per year.
The second part about CDOT is definitely our people. On the slide, you can see tons of pictures of CDOT employees in the field and at different project sites. These are the employees that help us be able to reach our projects and reach these missions and vision. We also live by our 6 CDOT values every day. They're safety, people, integrity, customer service, excellence and accountability, and respect. Today, we'll be focusing on customer service and excellence and accountability while we talk about some of the great change management initiatives that we're currently working on. I'll now pass it back to Gary to talk more about the past symposiums.
Thank you, Victoria. Our second part of the session today is a quick retrospective. We had this wonderful opportunity, and thank you again, PMI Denver Mile High Chapter, for the opportunity to speak at the symposium in 2013, 2014, and 2016. Our sessions looked like this if you were part of the sessions back then. Our very first session, April 2013, we had this wonderful opportunity to talk about 4 key things that we were working on to integrate change management into project management at CDOT. And there's a few key points there. First of all, a lot of folks may think that change management is just simply a few pieces of communication. At CDOT, that's not our experience. We need to actually recognize that so that we can make progress. And we did recognize that early on, and we've made some good progress on integrating change management into project management. A second key point was that those of us in the project management and change management professions are already in the future. We're designing the future, those wonderful projects that we have that are going to make us more effective and more efficient and more customer focused. And everybody else that are impacted by those projects are in the current state. So we're in the future state, other folks in the current state. It's important to recognize that that's a difference, that we need to help folks along in their journeys to where we already are, that wonderful future state. How can we help them from their current state to the future state? Part of that is we've been learning from the experts in the field. One of those experts is the organization ProSci. You see a picture of the ADCAR book there. We're working in CDOT so that we can help everybody go through their own individual journeys in every change that they're going through. At CDOT, just like many of you, we have badges. I'm proud of my CDOT badge. I'm actually proud of our CDOT lanyard also. Our CDOT lanyard says, I am Team CDOT. So CDOT is 3,000 people. CDOT is 3,000 individuals. Every time there's a change, we need to help folks through their own individual journeys. We call that ADCAR. A for awareness of the need for change. D, a desire to go along with that change. K, the knowledge to actually be able to go from your current state to your future state. A, the ability to do that, then in R, reinforcement. Everybody's part of a bigger team, but everybody's also an individual. It's the I in the I am Team CDOT. So it's important for us to recognize that, and that was our key point 3 from 2013. And then key point 4 was there's a crucial role, an essential role for executives to play. Those of us that are project managers and change managers aren't always those executives, but we can actually help those folks. We can help those folks take a different approach to change to help everybody in the organization be successful with each and every change that impacts them. And in taking our inspiration from Foster Places, the great Dr. Albert Einstein said, let's not pretend that things will change if we keep doing the same things. We need to do something different in 2013, and we started doing that. The PMI Mile High chapter invited us back to the symposium in 2014. Again, thank you, Mile High chapter. And I was joined by 2 folks, Kimberly Richards, who you see at the bottom there, an intern at the time and now working on the I-25 North project for CDOT, and Dr. Butch Allagood, one of the wonderful senior facilitators at ProSci. The key things that we covered then were actually integrating project management with change management outcomes. Project management, those of you that are PMPs recognize that as the PMI's PMP process. And change management, individual change management, is that ADCAR process we talked about starting at the symposium in 2013. And we know that no matter how good the project is, it doesn't matter if people don't change how do they do their jobs. It doesn't matter how noble the cause. If people cannot change or will not change how they do their jobs, the project won't matter. So getting the ability of people to be able to change their jobs, the change management portion of projects, is crucial. And our session in 2014 was focused on that and focused on how we treat people during projects so that we can get each and every person successful to be with each and every change that impacts them. And again, taking our inspiration from other places, the great Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. We want everybody for every project to feel that they will be successful with that change. PMI, thank you again for inviting us back to the symposium in 2016. We had a wonderful change management panel. I was joined by Michelle Haggerty from ProSci, who's currently the Chief Operating Officer at ProSci, Vanessa Ham, one of our wonderful interns, and Deborah Larson from the Statera organization. During that session, we talked about how we get people involved in change. At CDOT, starting in 2012, we actually developed a change agent network. We have 3,000 people at 200 different staff locations, as Mariah told you before, and each and every one of those people deserves to be successful with each and every change. We have found that having a change agent network, people scattered across the 104,000 square miles of Colorado, helped us help those people be successful with those changes. And again, taking our inspiration from wonderful folks, Benjamin Franklin famously said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." So we're involving people across CDOT so they can be successful with each and every change that impacts them. So again, thank you to PMI Mile High Chapter. 2013, we talked about that different approach we were taking to change at CDOT. In 2014, how we treat people during projects. In 2016, how we involve people in change so that each and every person can be successful with each and every change that impacts them. And I want to turn it over to my colleague, Michelle Malloy, who's going to cover a quick review of the history of CDOT's change management program and then also the current state of how we're doing things at CDOT.
Thank you, Gary. Now we're going to go on and we're going to talk about a quick history of CDOT's change management program over the years. But first, I'd like to talk about where does change management exist and where do we champion it in the organization. The Office of Process Improvement reports directly into our Chief of Staff, Sally Chafee. In the Office of Process Improvement, we have 3 lines of service: innovation and empowerment, business improvement project and change management, and strategy. And we definitely like to talk about our different service lines. And I want to focus today on our business improvement project and change management. This is where we're really working to ensure that everybody that are impacted by changes from all of our business improvement projects are successful with those changes. So what is change management? Let's think about that. I really want to emphasize that, at a project level, yes, if a project's going to change how people work, then we definitely need to incorporate change management with that project. The actual, the definition that I like to use is change management is the application of a structured process and a set of tools for leading the people side of change to achieve a desired outcome. But there's another element to change management, organizational change management. And that is at an organizational level, we really got to set the foundation. We have to make sure that everybody at CDOT plays a role in times of change. So really, when we're doing that, we're creating a leadership competency for everyone at CDOT, and we're really focusing in on building capabilities in every single role. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through this. So when we started change management at CDOT back in 2012, we decided that annually we wanted to create or complete a maturity assessment. Our maturity assessment is from ProSci, and the scale of it is 1 to 5. And it's based on leadership, application, competencies, standardization, and socialization. We do this on an annual basis just to make sure that, how are we doing today? What are we planning for our future? And we've done that every year. And then back in 2017, we really hit our apex. We were measuring at a 3.5 out of 5. We were doing, really good on our maturity scale. And we continued to do that through 2018. And of course, 2019, we were doing really well, and we all know what happened in 2020, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So I just wanted to emphasize that, the road to success is never linear. You're not going to just continue, increasing and increasing and increasing. You're going to have blips along the road. So what were our blips? What caused this fall in maturity in 2020? Well, of course, we all know we had a pandemic, so our resources were really focused on a new way to work. We, instantly, as everyone else, a lot of our employees started working from home or from other locations, and so there was a lot of focus on that in 2020. We also experienced a gap in sponsorship skills because in 2019, we've got a lot of new executives, and they had not been trained in change management or how to sponsor projects. And so we experienced a gap in sponsorships during 2019 and 2020. And also in 2019, due to the new leadership, our resources in our office were really focused in on organizational restructuring. We did a lot of work in organizational restructuring, and we did use change management doing that, by the way. So we really had, 2019, 2020, our resources were really focused on a lot of different areas. And Gary mentioned earlier about the Change Agent Network. In late 2018, our sponsor coalition that really supported and championed our change agent network at CDOT felt that our role of supervisor was doing such a great job. Everybody, was doing such wonderful work implementing changes across CDOT that they thought it was time to sunset the change agent network in late 2018. Looking back on that, I feel like that's probably one of the worst decisions we made. Hindsight's 2020, of course, because with the changes that came in 2019 and 2020, we definitely could have used CDOT's change agent network. So, as Simon Sinek says, choose falling over failing. We don't consider this a failure. We recognize that we have some lessons learned, and as we move forward, we're going to fix those. So, CDOT's Change Agent Network. When it started in 2012, it started with 20 change agents, and we were all on just one, change agent team. We had 3 sponsors surrounding it, supporting it. We had 3 major projects that we were working on. They were groundbreaking projects at CDOT, and we really focused in on just those 3 projects when we started. If you fast forward to 2018, when we sunsetted the Change Agent Network, we had grown it, the Change Agent Network, to 105 change agents. We had decentralized it, and we had 6 different Change Agent Network teams, each one having its own sponsor, each one having a team lead. And by that time, we had over 50 projects involved in the Change Agent Network, where the change agents were really there to support what I like to call the 500. So we have approximately 500 managers and supervisors at CDOT, but they were assigned, approximately 5 managers and supervisors, and their role was not only to communicate about the changes, but to support those supervisors in their roles in times of change. So making sure that that our supervisors had the support that they needed for them not only to adjust and adopt change, but to help their staff adjust and adopt a change. Role-based training is another thing that we do organizationally to lay that foundation, to make sure that everybody in the organization understands their role in times of change and what to do when change is happening. So 2012, we started our role-based training program. We started, of course, with our executives. We had a big push with sponsor training and our supervisors. And I'd like to also note that when we started the Change Agent Network, we had an annual training for the change agents themselves to reiterate, what is your role as a change agent? You don't have to be an expert in every change, but we want you there to support your assigned supervisors. By 2014, we had added in 2013, we had added the 3-day workshop for practitioners or for those people that are leading and managing change in our organization. By 2016, we had tied our supervisor course to the Employee Engagement Action Plan. That was one of the most wonderful steps we could have ever done, because within a year, 2 years, we had nearly all of our supervisors trained in their role in change management. In 2018, we added the employee course. So current state, role-based training, where are we at? What have we done? Training for employees, we have 21% of our employees trained. We have 83% of our supervisors trained. We have about 5% of our sponsors trained, but remember, we had a lot of change in our leadership, and we are picking this back up right now as we speak. And currently, we have approximately, I just counted them the other day, 99 change managers at CDOT. So back in 2015, we did a quick inventory of all the changes and all the projects that were happening at CDOT. And at that time, we had over 150 larger internal business projects happening. That's a lot of change. So at that time, we thought, how can we start to manage this change, all of these changes at an organizational level? What should we do? And so at that time, working with our executive management team, we created what was called CDOT's 3 Peaks. And this was an internal strategic initiative, and a lot of different people worked on this. A lot of people had, their fingers in this, and it really was a very fantastic and successful strategic initiative. It really was also our first, shot at creating a PMO inside of CDOT for internal business improvement projects. And as you can see, our 3 peaks were technology, people, and systems. And of course, this is a mountain climber motif we're going on here. We really like mountains in Colorado, and so that's what we were trying to get to. And all our trails were really our business improvement projects. And so what happened is we took all of these trails, the ones that kind of, rose to the top. At the time when we started it, we focused in on 32 of those 150 business improvement projects. And we combined them, we organized them under each of the 3 peaks. So we had 3 portfolios of projects. These portfolios of projects, we did everything. We did status reporting. We made sure they were chartered. They had, really good project and change management. And so they were very, very successful. And so that went on from 2015 until the end of 2018. And of course, tons of projects came out of that. One of the projects that we had in 2018 is we relocated CDOT's headquarters. That was a huge change, so huge, in fact, that we had 3 different change managers on that project. We were moving, hundreds and hundreds of people from multiple locations into our new building downtown Denver. And so, by the time that change went live, it was great. It went very smoothly. And we really accredit that to having a good, solid change management plan integrated with the project plan. 2 residencies, 1 goal. That picture there in the middle, that is from a while back, but he is now our chief engineer, Steve Harrelson. Steve Harrelson's been a great supporter of change management at CDOT for many, many years. And of course, Region 2 Knowledge Share Project back in 2017. I was a mentor on that project. That was a great team, and they definitely integrated change management with their work. They did an excellent job of figuring out how to document knowledge before everybody retired and new people were brought on board in the right-of-way area in Region 2. So now let's talk about how, in our current state, how we are working to increase the integration of change management with project management with our new program at CDOT called Concept to Project. First, CDOT, I just want to talk about the different types of projects that we have at CDOT. CDOT has for over 100 years had many design and construction projects as they work to build our bridges, build our highways, build our interstates. We've been doing that for a long time. There's definitely standard process around that, and it works great. But if you were to think about those bridges and highways, they're kind of like, if you want to compare it to a refrigerator factory, those are CDOT's refrigerators if we were a factory. And so those projects are definitely, they're there to improve the transportation system, and that's our product at CDOT. Business improvement projects, however, are a little bit different. Those projects are there to help improve the business that makes the refrigerators. Those can be things like process improvement, restructuring, IT improvements, anything like that. So those things that are working to improve the business that then delivers the refrigerators, or in our case, bridges and highways. Defining a business improvement, I'm sure everybody at PMI has heard, I don't know how many different definitions, but at CDOT, how we defined it is that, of course, it's temporary in nature. It has a start and end date. It achieves a business objective. It can be strategic or operational. And definitely, it's not daily, weekly, or monthly standard work. Time to completion should be greater than the time to vet, and amount of resources should be greater than 160 resource hours, or around $5,000. We also have a category at CDOT for our business improvement projects to give, it creates a type, so we understand what that project's doing. Type 1 projects are technical and people projects. They impact how people work. Type 2 projects are technical only, and they do not impact how people work. That could be something like changing out a server, or something like that around the back end that people aren't really going to have to change what they're doing. So Type 1 and Type 2. Recently, we did a stab at creating another inventory of what is actually going on within CDOT. And it's not complete by any stretch of the imagination, but right now we have over 200 larger business improvements happening internally at CDOT. And that is a lot. So back at 2015, we said we had 150. Now in 2021, we have over 200, and I'm sure the list isn't done. So that's a lot of change, and that's also a lot of opportunity. We estimate that there's 90% of these business improvement projects within CDOT don't have a charter. There's really, there's nothing on paper that really says these are our objectives, scope, budget, all of those things that we need to make sure that we're going to manage that project. Also, many of CDOT's business improvement projects struggle due to lack of sponsorship, perhaps lack of change management, or standards in business improvement project management itself. So there's lots of different reasons why our projects can struggle. That also creates a lot of opportunities for improvement. We don't really currently have a vetting process of how do we, decide this project is something that we want to, invest our resources and our time in. We don't have any way to decide if those are the business projects that we need to do at CDOT. Also, we don't really have a way right now to formally fund business improvement projects. So therefore, it's unknown how much time and money is invested in these projects. This really, gives us an opportunity to start thinking about the different portfolios at CDOT and how we should be managing them by division, by office, creating these portfolios and creating standard portfolios throughout the agency. And finally, we really need to start thinking about, how do we manage the impacts of these business improvement projects across the agency? For example, at CDOT, we have, two really main groups. There's tons of other ones, but for this example, we have a lot of engineers that are designing and building our highways. We have a lot of maintenance personnel who maintain those. And if we have over 200 business improvement projects happening at CDOT, and let's say engineering is getting hit with 25 changes at once, we're going to reach a level of change saturation, and people are going to find it very difficult to adjust and adapt to those changes. So we need to think about how do we manage the impacts to our people. So back, it was right before the pandemic, about 4 months before the pandemic, Gary and I approached Sally Chafee, our chief of staff, and we talked about this, and she was very, very supportive, and she felt the same way that we did. And so we brought together a sponsor coalition around this issue. And we worked together to create a charter for our vision, or for our project and our program. And then I brought them together so that we could vision it out. And so this vision that you're seeing on the screen was created by our sponsor coalition for Concept to Project. And what they really wanted to see was they envisioned a culture of continuous improvement supported by a fully integrated program that will promote CDOT's values of customer service and excellence. And by 2025, they wanted standardized processes and the use of project and change management to establish ingrained pathways for new projects, like how do projects move through the organization. They wanted a simple interface to communicate project status and be able to see what projects that are going on. They wanted a library of tools and resources supported by role-based training. And they also wanted a multi-year strategic plan that considers CDOT's resources. So soon after that, we kicked off the project team and began working on C2P. The vision at a project level for Concept to Project, or C2P, is that we really want to take project management, all the steps that we're all so familiar with, and everyone at PMI, I'm sure, is very familiar with them. We want to take, the process of delivering a project through its life cycle and integrate that change management process right in there so that we're doing it very succinctly and bringing them both together for each and every project that impacts people. This is a big undertaking. It's a very large effort, and so we needed to box it a little bit. And so our first steps for C2P is we really wanted to focus on adding value to every role in the organization. And we wanted to do this by providing a one-stop shop, or what we call the C2P Hub, which is a website coming very soon, in fact, in a few days, August 2nd. For all our business improvement projects, on this hub, we're going to have, services and tools and resources and training and consultation service, and we're going to be able to integrate everyone into a support network so that we can help everyone that's working to deliver projects that impact people. We can help them deliver successful projects. We also are going to provide a transparent look to all of Team CDOTers, our employees, our supervisors, everyone, so that everybody can see what business improvement projects are actually occurring within CDOT. This will have a lot of effect. It will impact everybody very much because, being able to see what's coming into engineering, being able to see what might be impacting maintenance, being able to see those things will really help people prepare, ask questions, and get involved. And finally, of course, our mantra is help everyone who is impacted by change be successful with that change. So those are our first initial goals as we start to unveil concept to project at CDOT. To give you a good idea of everything that CTP is going to do for everyone in the organization, we have a quick video for you to watch. So as the video you just watched alluded to, what are our customers finding value in our concept to project program? Leaderships will find value in, of course, the transparency, because this will give them the ability to see what's actually happening within CDOT, be able to strategically plan around that, and be able to think about the impacts that are happening to our people. Our project leaders and our change managers, boy, they're going to get a lot of things. Again, tools, resources, development and training, consultation, mentorship, and networking opportunities. And our supervisors and employees will also have that transparency and that awareness to be able to say what is actually happening within CDOT and how are things going to be impacting me and who can I contact about these projects and these changes. So how do we do it? I'm going to turn it over now to Victoria and Mariah to talk about that.
Thank you, Michelle. How we are able to do this is we've taken our C2P project team and divided it up into 5 different sub-teams. We have the tools team, the process intake team, the C2P hub, the training and development team, and the change management team. Mariah and I will now go into detail on each of these sub-teams. The first one is the C2P hub. This is a website that we're creating that will be a one-stop shop for all the tools and resources that we're creating for the project for every CDOT employee to use. The main purpose of this is to help increase transparency as well as help other people be able to find all the great things that we're doing. On the right side of the screen, you can see a screenshot from the C2P homepage where we have a little intro about what the project is, as well as that video that we played earlier. The second sub-team is the intake process team. The main purpose of this is to develop a project inventory list, as well as develop a way to make sure that we can keep the inventory list current and up to date. Again, the main purpose for this is to help increase that transparency throughout CDOT. We want to have a list where all the employees can look at the projects and make sure we don't have any duplicates or any other projects that people aren't aware of. The third sub-team is the training and development team. The main purpose of this is to provide trainings and different classes that people can take to improve their project and change management skills and help their projects become successful. On the right, you can see one of the change management classes that we currently teach. The picture's from a 3-day change management course, and you can see our lovely instructor, Michelle Malloy, who is also on the C2P team. We also have different half-day courses and other trainings that we currently provide. Another reason that we have this sub-team is to fill the gaps of training that we don't currently have. We'll be building out different trainings for other CDOT employees to use in order to meet all of those different gaps that we currently don't have.
Our fourth sub-team is our tools team, which aims to provide simple and easy-to-use tools for project and change management to provide process and standardization for the project lifecycle, so thinking about waterfall, agile, and hybrid methods, and to increase the use of project and change management on CDOT's business improvement projects. And our last team is our change management team, and this was established so that CDOT will help realize the intended benefits of the C2P program and also developed change management plans for each iterative release as we move forward to the future state. Looking at our next steps with C2P, the first thing we want to do regarding project inventory is begin discussions with our sponsor coalition about the need for a vetting process, additional resources, and standard portfolio management. The next thing we want to do is bring back the Change Agent Network. As Michelle mentioned earlier, we were really sad to see this go in 2018 and have been missing it since. So we think that reintroducing this with C2P will help create a two-way flow of communication between project teams, change agents, and CDOT supervisors. It'll help create a standardized process for updates to be given to supervisors, requests for action, as well as pointers to reinforce their roles in times of change, and will provide support to supervisors to manage any resistance to change. And lastly, we want to increase project maturity to 3.5 by 2023. And of course, we'd like to recognize the wonderful team that, or as we like to call it, our dream team that helped make C2P possible and continue to move forward. We're really excited to see where this goes. I will now pass it off to Gary to wrap everything up for us.
A quick retrospective on what we covered today. We discussed a little bit about CDOT. We plan, build, operate, and maintain the Colorado transportation system, and we're working every day to improve every process and every product and to ensure that everybody who's impacted by change will be successful with those changes. Thank you again to the chapter for inviting us to the symposium in 2013, 14, and 16. And we talked a little bit about how we've been evolving our change management and project management program since then. Michelle actually covered more history about CDOT's change management program, the things that worked and the things that didn't work. And in the current state, we talked about how we're working to take those lessons learned from the past and the needs of the future to increase integration of change management with project management at CDOT through an effort we call Concept to Project. We would love to share our story more. We have an hour here. We have tons of material that we hope has been useful to you in that hour, and we'd love to share more. You see our contact information here. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time so that we can talk about how we can all learn from each other so that we can have everybody, not just at CDOT, but everywhere, everybody be successful with every change that impacts them. We have some material on our external web page. We have a photo of some of that there and a QR code. I encourage you to take out your cell phone, snap the QR code, and read a bit more about change management and project management at CDOT. One more admonition from the great General George Patton: a good plan executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. I'm hopeful that we've got some things that can help you with your plan about how you're going to improve your practice of change management and project management. I'm hopeful that you can execute that after you leave the symposium, and please contact us if there are other things that we can do to help you in your own journey. Thank you again. Best wishes for continued success and best wishes for a great symposium. Thank you.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good. Good job.
Thank you.
Good stuff happening at CDOT. All right.
Yeah, there's always big stuff happening at CDOT, right?
No, you guys got a lot on your plate, that's for sure.
Yeah, there is never a dull moment.
Oh, man. No kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I think that getting your network of change agents redeployed is going to serve you well.
Yes, I hope so. In fact, I meet with the chief engineer and the RTDs, our regional transportation directors, next in a couple weeks on it. So hopefully everybody's supportive.
Great. Well, that's good. So when did you record your session?
Oh boy, it's been about, I want to say 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago.
Gotcha. How did that? It's I'm obviously remote. I think it's the sessions I've attended have been pre-recorded like that. Have been very well done.
Yeah, and that was really an experience, kind of nerve-wracking. It was the first time I'd ever been in a room with, there was a green room, you know what I mean? So, and I think it's a lot more difficult to present when there's not an audience to connect.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I was putting myself in your shoes going, how would I do that?
yeah, it was definitely a different experience. So. Hi, Gary. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, you must not be on yet.
Okay, sorry, I can now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was just back in the other room. Thanks, folks, for joining us. It wasn't apparent to me how to actually log in via the agenda. Mariah, thanks for sending the link. So I just left a note back at the other place. We do have a couple of questions. And John, maybe we start off with yours. You said, what are the most common barriers to change you've encountered at CDOT?
Yeah.
Mariah or Michelle, I know that you have lots of thoughts, and so do I. Do either one of you want to take that one first?
I'm more than happy to, Gary, if you'd like. So one of the biggest barriers to change at CDOT, I think, is that there is so much change. Mm-hmm. And I've been working on our inventory list, in fact, this morning and yesterday, and when you have that many internal business projects that are happening and they impact so many people all the time, I just feel like, the people in the regions especially are just getting hit with so much change all the time that it reaches saturation levels. And so I think that is a huge barrier for successful change to happen.
It makes sense. For a matter of fact, I noted when you mentioned in your presentation, Michelle, the whole concept around change saturation, I just thought, oh yeah, big time. So that doesn't surprise me, especially given, all the stakeholders you have in the state of Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why CTP is so important, is trying to get to that place where we do start to vet and we do start to think through, what business improvements do we want to make and invest in and do so that we can slim down the amount of change that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Any other big ones like that come to mind?
Yeah. So I don't know how many executive management team members we have off the top of my head, the exact number, Gary, do you know, is it 20?
It's a little bit less than that. I think we have 16 folks, our executive director and people, and our deputy executive director and the people reporting into them.
All right, so, between, right around 16 then right now. And out of those, most of our changes come from about 6 to 7 or 8 of them, and of the executive management team members that should be sponsoring those changes. And so I think that's a barrier as well, right? Because if we've got, 8 executives responsible for 200 plus business improvements, and they, we want them to sponsor and be actively involved and build coalition and communicate about those changes, you reach a point where it's an impossibility, I think, to expect that for all changes and have good sponsorship on them.
Right. So again, it sounds like your people are spread, your sponsors are spread too thin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as we all know, sponsorship is the number one indicator of project success.
Exactly. So yeah, key cog in the wheel that's gone awry. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that is, I can see that.
And I think a third barrier is just being such a dispersed organization too, having people in over 200 locations and really needing to get that structure in place where we're really, empowering our supervisors to manage change, for us, and, do resistance management and advocate for those changes and just make sure we get consistent messaging to them all. We live in a big state, and that's another barrier, I think.
Yeah.
But and to pick up on that, Michelle, this I've worked at various other places, and John, I've worked other places, but never a place with so much spread. 3,000 people, 200 different staff locations. That in and of itself, even if everybody says, boy, this is the best thing since sliced bread, that can be very challenging. That's a part of the impetus for bringing back the Change Agent Network that Michelle talked about in the main session.
No, I can definitely see the importance of that, Gary. Has CDOT, it sounds like you fully embraced, the whole notion of ProSci in terms of your methodology for change. Is that a safe assumption? I've done a little reading and little background snooping on, and I just wanted to kind of see what your key takeaways were with ProSci and if you're, that's your number one resource for change management practices.
Absolutely, John. Early on in my career, I discovered the real necessity to pull in the technical side of, the people side of process improvement. I'm an old industrial engineer, steeped in the technical side, but not so much on the people side. I got partnered up early on, thankfully, with some folks in organizational development and human resources, or back then called personnel organization, and they knew a whole lot more than I did about the people side of change. The cutting edge at the time was John Cotter, also William Bridges. They had some wonderful stuff, and frankly, a little short on tools. There was actually a consultant that helped Cotter with another book that brought in some tools. That was better than not having any change management. Believe me, some good stuff coming out of that. When I saw the ProSci approach, almost 20 years ago now, much better, research-based, good tools, pretty practical, plain language. So we're sold on it. Any change management approach better than having no change management approach for sure. And we've really had we've had this decade of success. Utilizing the ProSci approach here at CDOT.
Do you find that the ADCAR model, either one of you, is that specifically more towards individuals, or can you, there's paradigms in that model, I think that, you can adopt, but it's always been my understanding through the literatures, it's focused more at the individual level. What do you guys think?
You can use AdCar both at an individual level or a team level or a group level or an organizational level. I mean, you can kind of use it everywhere, but it definitely does speak to the individual because my favorite saying is organizations don't change, people do.
Exactly.
And yeah, so we got to get the individual on the bus.
Mhm. So at the foundational level, yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, John, I like that, you know, the full PRSI approach, you know, is built around individual, you know, change management, but, you know, getting the organization organized, plans that help the individual. And, yeah, it's part of what I like to, you know, it's part of what I like about the PRSI approach.
Mhm. Great. No, thank you.
And John, who are you with?
I'm actually in between jobs. I got laid off earlier this summer. I was with a laboratory in Louisville called Cable Television Laboratories, Cable Labs. I was there for about 10 years. Prior to that, aerospace, Sun Microsystems. So I'm just now in between and looking. Actually have an interview next week. I'm actually looking at some opportunities in higher education as well, trying to maybe step out and do something different than I've done in the past. So yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying a little downtime right now.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, and I wish you the best and good luck on your interview.
No, thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been, you know, I've been through several reorgs and, you know, it's like, I think the third gyration in my career that I've been in this, but again, it's all about change and embracing change. So I went through the whole grieving process and I mean, I was with Cable Labs for 10 years, Sun Microsystems for 10 years. And so, you know, it's all just kind of like going through the process. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've, you know, one of the interesting things about being virtual is you can monitor a few things. I have been monitoring my LinkedIn, and there's one of the folks, Miro Orsovich, who has not been able to join into the room for various reasons. But he did have an interesting set of questions, and it's really around remote work. You know, the impact of pandemic. You know, and that CDOT does CDOT try to integrate that into what we're doing. So I know that this is being recorded, and Kristen, thanks again for doing that. I thought we might want to talk about that. Certainly the pandemic hit CDOT just like any place, and we've had a lot of folks working from home. I'm proud to say that our staff, Office of Process Improvement, are pioneers in that. And Michelle in particular. Michelle, and you might want to speak some about it. Michelle has been working from home and very often from a car too. A lot of windshield time. So home sweet car, right? But Michelle has been working from home for, gosh, 8 years now. Maybe it's longer than that now. I start losing track of time, Michelle. And that really was very helpful to all of us on our staff and also to other folks that we could pass along some of that knowledge at CDOT. So anyway, since this is being recorded, I'll certainly get this to this recording to Miro to make sure he understands what the link is. But Michelle, I thought you might want to address some of that too.
Yeah. So as Gary says, I've been working from home for 8 or 9 years now, or working from anywhere, I'd like to say, because I work from hotel rooms and cars and other facilities. And so I kind of, you know, before the pandemic, I was all over the state a lot. And so for me, when people started working from home, I was relieved because I wasn't the only one working from home anymore. So that kind of, it gave me a new perspective of, you know, I wasn't the only one on a video screen all the time, and I wasn't the only one, you know what I mean? So that was really nice, personally for me. But I really did, it made me think back to whenever I first started working from home and what are the challenges that we faced, not just me personally, but our team, you know, and my Gary is my supervisor. Like, what were the challenges we faced? How did we work through them? And what were the lessons we learned? And so being able to share all of them with others and helping them along that transition was enjoyable. And I think it's a great space that we're at right now in a hybrid situation. So.
And I was wondering if I could call Mariah too. Mariah is earlier in her career than Michelle and I, and has been doing her internship here remotely, but also another one. Mariah, did you want to chat about that some?
Oh, sure. I mean, I guess like starting my career, I graduated in like the peak of the pandemic or during the first lockdown, really. So I just started fully remote, and I haven't known anything else really, but it's great. It's really nice. I don't know, you get to work from anywhere really. So I think it's a really good thing, and I don't know, I've enjoyed it. I think
I certainly think that it's going to be a game changer, and it's proven a theory that I've always been a proponent of. I've been working remote for the last 3 years, and I think it's just but I love my office time too. I like having that hybrid, being able to go into the office because I'm a social person, and I also I get a lot done when I'm huddling with other people real time in an office. So it's enjoyable. I love to have that flexibility, and I think it's become the workforce is now expecting it more and more.
And for Mariah, and she didn't mention it, this is her second DOT that she's worked remotely. She worked first for Caltrans, right? California Department of Transportation, and now for CDOT.
Yes, I was working for San Diego's division from Louisville, Colorado. So it was great.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. I'm going to take a quick couple of minutes to grab a bite before my next session. And great job, you guys. I really appreciate it. I will look you up on LinkedIn.
All right. Thanks, John.
No,
That's great.
thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Gary, and Kristen, and Mariah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And Michelle and Mariah, thanks again. Great session today. John, thanks. Kristen, thanks for moderating here. Miro, thanks for your question. We hope we can get this recording to you so you can listen to the answers. Why don't we ring out for now, as I like to say, maybe enough for now. All right?
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.